what's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Vlogmas video. Today I'm going to sit down and share with you guys all the shows I watched in 2020, or all the binge-worthy ones. I think with the way the world went this year, a lot of us spent a lot of time binge watching and just like devouring the best shows on a bunch of streaming platforms. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys everything that either I binge watched this year or me and my husband binge watched this year, things that I think are definitely worth looking into, things that were the best. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys what shows they were, what platform I watched them on, and then of course I will post a little picture here or the thumbnail of the show so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. If this video starts to get too long, I'm going to cut it off and make it a part 1 and part 2. So let's go ahead and hop in because I know this is gonna be a long one. I have a list a mile long for you to share with you guys, so let's hop in. The first one is Vikings. Me and my husband watched this on Hulu. The show is basically just what it sounds like, a group of Vikings and basically their story, how they traveled across to new lands. This is not a show I would recommend watching with children. There's definitely some risque things in there, without getting too specific. But yeah, I love this show. You guys have probably seen a bunch of memes of the show of Ragnar. He's awesome. He's pretty cool. I love that show. This is something me and my husband watched together. I don't really want to describe too much of the show, but it's basically about this Viking, Ragnar, who starts off as a farmer, and he kind of like challenges the Reich, who is the chief of his like village. He challenges him and eventually becomes, you know, a bigger character, more powerful, I guess. And it's kind of his story, how he leads the village, and kind of he's the main guy. So it's a really good show. I would highly recommend, but do not recommend with kids. Another one right off the back of that is Barbarians. This is on Netflix. Yes, this one's on Netflix. It's only one season. It's 6 episodes, but it's so good. This is one me and my husband just finished watching. When we first started watching the show, we were only a couple minutes in, and I realized that they're not actually speaking English in the show, so their lips don't match what they're actually saying because they have English voice actors over top of like the original film. So the people that are actually in the show are talking a different language. So that bothered me at first, but the show is so good. By like 15 minutes in the show, I really didn't care. It's really good. It's basically about this boy who is a Viking, and his dad is the chief of his village, and Rome is coming in and just like destroying everything. And basically to save the village, he has to trade his sons for peace with the Romans. And his son is raised by the Romans. As he becomes an adult, he is now part of the Roman army, and he is placed and stationed basically right next to the village that he had grown up in. So now he's like running into people who are now adults that he used to play with as kids. And the Romans are just coming in trying to re-destroy his village, even though his dad had already traded him for peace. And it's basically like this inner struggle between himself, like, am I a Roman, or is my loyalty to this village where I was born? It's really good. Like I said, there's only 6 episodes, but bomb. Once again, that's one I don't recommend watching in front of children. There's some things in there that I don't think kids need to see. One that's a little bit lighter is Married. This one's so funny. We watched this one on Hulu as well. There's 1 or 2 seasons of this one, I think, but it's so good. It's so funny. The first episode, I was kind of like, is this what I think it is? It's basically about this couple who's married. They've been married a long time. They have 2 kids who are middle-aged. Like, they're not quite preteens, but they're not kids either. And the mom was just overtired, and she's just kind of like, not really into the whole interrelationship thing, and they're talking about and discussing an open marriage. And I was kind of like, is this just gonna be a show about the dad having an open marriage and the mom staying home taking care of the kids? So the first episode kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but once you get past that, that's not what the show is. It's really funny, it's really relatable. It just shows like a normal couple going through like normal marriage things. They fight about normal things. It's really funny. We watched that one on Hulu. That one's really funny. I would highly recommend. The next one we watched was Dave. This is another one we watched on Hulu. This is basically a comedy, and Little Dicky is Dave. This is one I wouldn't recommend watching in front of kids. There's like a lot of adult humor in it, and it's really, really funny. That Dave and Married are just like a really light show to watch. They're easy to watch. It's not one of those shows where like you have to be sitting on the couch watching the entire time, because if you miss one thing, then it doesn't make sense anymore and you're lost. It's definitely one of those shows where if the kids were off doing their own thing, I could turn on Dave, me and my husband could sit and watch, and I could be gone for 10 or 15 minutes and I could hop right back into the show and I would know what's happening. It's lighter, it's funny, it's easy to watch, and I enjoy shows like that, especially after a long, hard day. I don't want to sit down and watch something like Vikings where it's like so suspenseful and I need to know what happens. I like to watch something that's a little lighter and more funny. So Dave was really funny. Like I said, Lil Dicky's in it. You hear him like rap and stuff. It's basically like his climb to fame. Basically, he's just like a normal guy and trying to make it, and it's pretty funny. That one's on Hulu, go watch it. The next one is Magicians. If you followed me for a while, you know me and my husband love Magicians. The new season is out, I think right now. It's really, really good. It's basically just about these group of normal people who basically are magicians, and they get recruited into a secret private school. They have to fight this guy who's the Beast in the first season, and they basically travel between different worlds, and it's kind of geeky, but it's so good. It's so good. That one is actually on Netflix and Hulu, so you have options, but there's 6 or 7, 8 seasons of The Magicians. That one's binge worthy. It's really good. I'm trying to keep these descriptions kind of vague because otherwise this is gonna be like a 45-minute video, but that one's really good. That's one that me and my husband have been watching like every season premiere for the last couple of years. It's really good. Another one we watched this year was The 100. This one is on Netflix and Hulu as well. It's basically about the world coming to an end, right? And to save themselves, a bunch of people went up into space, and after 100 years, they decide to send a bunch of kids down to Earth to test out, see if Earth is safe. They land on Earth, realize that there are other people still on Earth. Earth was not wiped out. They are not the last people, and they are fighting to survive on Earth with what they call grounders. It's really good. That's basically the first season, and then of course season after season after season it evolves, and there are new enemies, new people change, new people come, people die. It's really good. I would recommend that one. We're actually a season behind on The 100, so I don't know what happens in the newest season, but that one's really good. I would highly recommend. That one is definitely binge worthy. When I started watching that show, I think I binge watched 4 or 5 seasons in like a week. It's that good. Another one we watched this year was the new seasons of The Ranch. That one's really light, really easy to watch. That one's on Netflix. That one is with Ashton Kutcher. They basically bring in everybody from that 70s show, and it's really good. It's just a light, easy kind of show to watch. It's a little bit more serious, but not one that like keeps you on the edge of your seat so much. That one is basically about his dad, like Ashton Kutcher's dad, Ashton Kutcher, and his brother who run a ranch. It's basically their life, their struggles, all those things. Pretty good, easy to watch. That one's on Netflix. Another one that I was completely obsessed with, this might be my personal favorite that I watched this year, this is something I binge watched by myself, is How to Get Away with Murder. This one is on Hulu and Netflix, I believe, but I watched it on Netflix. This is something that I started watching right after I had Colt, because I was up pretty much all night by myself breastfeeding and newborn struggles. I would turn on How to Get Away with Murder. It is amazing. I just finished the last season, I think 2 or 3 months ago. So good, amazing, I love it. It's basically about this law attorney who is also a professor, and she takes on a bunch of her students to work as interns at her law firm. They get into like a whole string of trouble, and it's basically her out lawyering other lawyers and getting all of them off on all these like criminal acts that they do. So good. The characters in there are awesome. The character development is awesome. I love that show. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. I binge watched pretty much all of those seasons Like, that was one of those shows that I was watching and I didn't want it to end. Like, I was sad as I was watching through them. I was like, I need to slow down because once this ends, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. It was one of those shows. Another one is The Masked Singer. This is basically, they take a bunch of celebrities and put them in these ridiculous costumes where you can't see their face or like their hands or anything. You can't tell what their skin tone is. And they sing and dance to different songs and stuff, and they give you riddles and clues, and you have to try to guess who the celebrity is or whatever. Sometimes they're athletes, they're Olympians, they're singers, dancers, actors. Sometimes they have YouTubers on there. It's pretty cool. I genuinely like that show. That's something me and my sister watch together a lot, or we'll like text each other. We'll be like, are you watching this? Did you see that? It's an easy show to watch. It's light. That's another thing I started watching after I had Colt. I was stuck sitting a lot, breastfeeding a newborn, and that's something that I could watch with my kids even, and I didn't have to like sit down and watch a cartoon. We could all watch together. The kids liked it. They would like dance in front of me while the people were dancing. It was cool because they'd be like, Mom, look at that pink alligator, or look at the hippo, or whatever. They thought it was cool. So I recommend that one. That's a more family-friendly show if you're interested in the market for one of those, but that's on Hulu. Another one, a great love, Shark Tank. There's like 100 seasons of Shark Tank. I binge watched them all. I love Shark Tank. I'm obsessed with Shark Tank. Shark Tank is basically where they put a bunch of really wealthy investors in front of an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur has to come in, sell them a pitch to try to get them invest in their company, and sometimes they just get ripped to shreds. Sometimes it's, I don't know, it's just, I enjoy watching it. I enjoy seeing what other people come up with for a business or a product. I think it's cool. It's easy to watch. It's something me and my husband watch together a lot. It's one of those shows where like we'll turn it on after the kids are in bed and we'll both like scroll our phones and we can talk back and forth, but we can still watch something. That's why I like it. I love Shark Tank. Love Shark Tank. Another one I watched with my husband this year is The Witcher. That one's on Netflix. I'm gonna be quite honest, I don't know what happens in this show very much, because we started watching this right after I had Colt. He was only a couple days old, and this is one of those shows where we would turn it on after we put the girls to bed, and Colt would be like asleep in his rocking play or something in the living room with us. We would sit down on the couch, turn it on, and I would fall asleep. Because I was tired breastfeeding a newborn all night. My husband would watch. I would catch a couple glimpses of it, but basically what I've gathered from those couple glimpses is it's this guy who's the Witcher, and it's like this mystical being, right? It's like set in the medieval times. There's like dragons and demons and all these things, and he's one of the only guys that can like defeat all these demons and these monsters. So people look for him and sought him out to kill all these demons and stuff. And it's basically like witches and like these wizards, and it's pretty cool. Another one that's pretty nerdy, but it's about all these different characters, and their stories are all kind of separate and individual until the very end of the season, where they all kind of come together and all starts to kind of make sense. That one's really good. Netflix. Only two more. Another one that we watched as a family was Dino Hunters. This is something that we would watch like on a Friday night, because usually Fridays, how my husband's work schedule worked is it's one of the only days he was home with us pretty much all this year. We would get takeout, come home, or we would go out to eat, come home, we would all eat together, then we would sit down, pop some popcorn, have some chips or something. We would all sit down and watch Dino Hunters. It's basically a bunch of these people off in the Midwest, like Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and they would dig up dinosaur bones. And it was basically them searching for dinosaur bones, finding them, digging them up, how they restored them, all that stuff. My oldest daughter is obsessed with dinosaurs. We would all sit down and watch that together, talk about the different dinosaurs and how cool it was. That one's on Hulu. And last but not least, the last show that we binge watched I think is worth talking about is Shameless. We binge watched pretty much every season of this in a very short amount of time. This is basically a show about a very large family from the inner city of Chicago, and they're just struggling to make it. There's like 100 kids. Realistically, I think there's like 8 kids, and both the parents are kind of scumbags, and they leave the oldest daughter to take care of all these kids. It's basically them all pitching together to pay bills and get it done, and it's basically about all these kids' individual struggles, but also the family struggle. It's really funny though. It's like a light, airy show, but there are some serious moments in it. It's really good though. I would highly recommend it. Me and my husband really liked it. There's a ton of seasons on it too, so it'll take you a while to get through if you're looking for a new show. But that is my whole list. I really hope I'm not missing anything. Let me know what you guys binge watched this year. What was your favorite? What was your top 3? Let me know down below. Also, if any of these shows sound good to you and you want to watch them, let me know down below what any of those are. If you do end up watching them, you have to let me know if you enjoyed them or not. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow for another Vlogmas video. Bye!
All year long I've been keeping track